Hi, I'm Kaylee, and these are the graphic novels, comics, and manga that I have been reading recently. In case you didn't know, Books for MKs is a charity that donates books to missionary kids. If you want to donate to the kids, you can do so safely at GoFundMe.com. There's going to be a link down in the description, and there's a button at the end of this video. So all of the recently read graphics and comics and manga have all been from NetGalley. So I need to put a disclaimer here that all of these reviews are my own honest opinions, that I received e-copies of these books from the publisher through NetGalley in exchange for a free and honest review, and all of my reviews are not influenced by anyone. They are my real true thoughts. So the first one that I read was Dream of the Butterfly. Volume 1 is Rabbits on the Moon. Little Tutu is a little girl who gets lost in a snowstorm. She's magically transported to a land where animals can talk and humans are not welcome. She's forced to work in a factory and she's trying to find her way home, and the emperor of this land asks her to find a rare and powerful butterfly. I liked the imaginative characters, but the plot is jumping all over the place. And there's not really enough time spent on any one scene to give the characters very much depth. Tutu herself, the main character, is really a poorly constructed character. In one scene, she's very wary and careful and kind of standoffish, and she's not going to trust people. And the next minute, she's pouring out her heart. She's open and trusting, and her character just flip-flopped all over the place, and it was really annoying. The story just needed better structure, and the characters needed more definition. I gave this one 3 stars. I read Herding Cats, which is the 3rd volume by Sarah Anderson. Another hilarious collection of her comics. It's all about dealing with anxiety and being introverted, loving life, and staying creative. I just adore Sarah Anderson's work. All of the comics that I've read of hers are just so funny and adorable. She has such a unique way of cutting to the heart of what brings delight or disaster into our everyday lives. She actually makes me laugh out loud and chuckle and giggle while I'm reading her work. I gave this comic 4 stars. I read Anne of Green Gables, the graphic novel, and I am a huge fan of the Anne of Green Gables series. I reread the books many times since I was a kid. So I was really interested to see, okay, what is this adaptation gonna be like? Is it really gonna live up to how much I love the story? And while I loved the colors and the beautiful artwork, I felt like it was really just too short of an adaptation to fully encompass Anne's story. It doesn't really give a full picture, and sometimes some of the scenes are a little vague, and so unless you're already familiar with Anne's story, then I think if you were a first-time reader, you could get a little lost. The illustrations are whimsical and colorful, and they give sort of a dreamy quality to the book. Several times I was really not impressed with the writing style. It's like it was trying too hard to have some sort of old-timey kind of writing style, and it was just trying too hard, you know? I think this is a lovely way to revisit a favorite classic, but again, I wouldn't recommend it unless you already know the story of Anne of Green Gables. It's still enjoyable though, and I gave it 3 stars. I read Sai Fu, which is about a boy named Wax. He's determined to be the best DJ in the world, but his mixes accidentally answer an interstellar challenge, and he has to protect his family and friends from the robots of Discotopia. He fights against the evil king of Discotopia using the ancient art of Sai Fu, which is a martial art that uses sound waves as weapons. I'm not much of a fan of the rap music and stuff that was going on in this book, but I am a musician, and so I was really intrigued about any kind of story that uses music as a weapon. That was really interesting to me. And by the end of the book, I just loved all the rhythm and the rhyming, and it's like I could hear the music in my head as I was reading it. The plot surprised me and kept me guessing with a lot of great twists. The dialogue is really snappy and kept me laughing. And most important to me is characters, and the characters have some really great development. The illustrations are full of really vibrant colors, and it gives a very energetic feeling to the story. The world of Discotopia is imaginative and playful. Even though this was sort of outside my wheelhouse with the rap music and stuff, I enjoyed it so much, and I gave it 4 stars. I read Photographic, The Life of Graciela Iturbide. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but she's a famous photographer. This graphic novel is a very poetic and sort of dreamlike journey through the personal history and the photographs of this famous photographer in Mexico. I grew up in Mexico as a child, and so I was very attracted to this because it's a big part of my cultural history. There's a real emphasis on Graciela's fascination with birds and flight, and how wings and flying and things really inspired a lot of the imagery in her work. I really loved the importance of heritage and the cultural stories of this graphic novel. There is some dialogue and kind of some basic words in Spanish, so I felt like that would alienate readers who didn't understand those words. I wish that there was a glossary at the back or something. I mean, I speak Spanish, so I was fine reading it, but I felt like, well, anybody who doesn't speak Spanish is going to be a little lost. And I appreciated that this adds a very rich cultural feel, but I wish that there was like a little footnote or something where it was translated for others. This is mainly just sort of an exposition of her photographs, and I guess I was expecting more of a story, you know, and it's not really a story. It's all about the places she traveled to take her photos, and some of the other artists who influenced her work, or people that she knew that influenced her. I think I would have enjoyed it more if it had been more of a drama about her life, you know. Her family is very briefly mentioned, but I guess I just wish that there was more storytelling. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. I read Valentine, Volume 1. Valentine is the quiet one in a rowdy group of friends. Between school and parties, her friends try out smoking and drinking, and Valentine is kind of iffy. She doesn't really care about those things the way her friends do. Valentine is really only interested in trying to get her crush to notice her, but she's too shy to speak to him, and she just kind of gets dragged along for the ride with her friends. Not much really happens in the plot. The friends go to a party, they take an exam, they sit around and talk at lunch, they tease each other, and then they actually even bully other girls at school. Valentine goes grocery shopping with her mom, who worries that Valentine isn't getting enough vitamins. Very predictable and commonplace, and yet somehow it has a sort of pathos to it that kept my interest. I feel like this first volume is really just all set up, and maybe in further volumes there'll be a little more action in the plot. But I'm not really sure that I want to continue reading. I just gave this one 3 stars. I read Archival Quality, which is about Celeste, who loses her job as a librarian, and she takes a new job as an archivist in a haunted museum. The more she dives into the archives, she discovers the secrets of the museum's past, and she begins to have dreams of a ghost who died there. I was actually really disappointed in this comic. The artwork isn't that good, and it just sort of looks like it was just thrown together. And the story fell flat. The plot takes a long time to get going. And then the mystery didn't really have much to it. It's a fairly good comic. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but it's just not that great. I only gave this one 2 stars. I read The Altered History of Willow Sparks. Willow is a nerd being bullied by the popular girls at school, and she discovers a magic book that gives her the power to change her life. Whatever she writes into the book comes true, and she can rewrite the things that she doesn't like about herself and about her life. But of course, magic comes with a price. Willow uses the book to become one of the popular girls, but of course there is a cost. If only Willow can realize the truth before it's too late, she might be able to salvage her friendships with the people who truly care about her. I really loved the struggle that Willow goes through. She has some great character development. And I really loved the complex relationships with her friends. I especially appreciated how the writing is concise, but really forceful, saying a lot in just a few words. The artwork is really wonderful, and with a muted bluish color scheme, it creates this emotional connection into every scene and really pulls you into the story. I gave this one 4 stars. I have been reading through a bunch of manga classics by Crystal Chan, and this time I read The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. I thought this was a wonderful adaptation of Mark Twain's book into manga form. I think the authors and the illustrators did an excellent job of condensing such a classic story into a small volume without losing any of the integrity or the flavor of the story. The artwork brings a lot of emotion into the story and firmly connects the reader with the characters. Seeing the expressions on the characters' faces as they experience sadness or grief or joy or fear or relief, I was having those same emotions right with them. A beautiful manga of a favorite classic. I gave this one 4 stars. And those are the graphic novels, comics, and manga that I've been reading recently. If you've read any of these, please leave a comment down below and let me know what did you think of it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.